Imagine a queen so ruthless, so evil, that her very name became a curse. A woman who manipulated kings, slaughtered prophets, and led an entire nation into darkness. But in the end, her story would not be one of triumph. It would be one of terror. A prophecy had sealed her fate, and when judgment finally came, it was swift, brutal, and inescapable. This is the story of Queen Jezebel, the woman who defied God. Our story begins in Phoenicia, a land of wealth, seafaring trade, and powerful gods. It was here that Jezebel was born, a princess, the daughter of King Ethbal, a high priest of Baal, the god of storms and fertility. From the very start, Jezebel was no ordinary woman. She was raised in the ways of power, manipulation, and ruthless ambition. When King Ahab of Israel sought to strengthen his kingdom through a political alliance, he married Jezebel, bringing her to the throne of Israel. But with her, she carried something far more dangerous than politics. She brought Baal worship, a religion of blood sacrifices, temple prostitution, and dark rituals. Jezebel was not content to be just a queen. She was determined to rule, and no one, not even the God of Israel, would stand in her way. It didn't take long for Jezebel's influence to spread. Altars to Baal rose in the land. The people, once devoted to the one true God, were now bowing before idols. But that was not enough for Jezebel. She wanted absolute control, so she unleashed a brutal purge. She ordered the execution of Yahweh's prophets, sending her men to hunt them down and slaughter them. It was a massacre. The few who survived went into hiding, and fear gripped the land. But then came a man who would challenge her. A lone prophet, fearless and chosen by God, Elijah. The tension reached its breaking point on Mount Carmel. Elijah stood against 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, daring them to a divine showdown. The challenge was simple. Let's see whose God is real. Let Baal send fire from heaven, and if he does not, then the Lord is God. Jezebel's prophets cried out, they chanted, danced, and even cut themselves. But Baal remained silent. Then Elijah prayed, and in an instant, fire fell from heaven. The flames consumed the altar, the stones, and even the water that had been poured over the sacrifice. The people fell to their knees, crying out, "The Lord, He is God." Elijah ordered the execution of Baal's prophets, and in one day, Jezebel's grip on Israel was shaken. When Jezebel heard what had happened, she was enraged. She sent a message to Elijah, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like one of them." Elijah fled, but God was not finished with Jezebel. Years passed, but Jezebel's wickedness only grew. She schemed, she manipulated, and she even orchestrated the murder of Naboth, an innocent man, just to steal his vineyard for her husband, Ahab. That was the final straw. God sent Elijah to deliver a prophecy. Dogs will devour Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. She will be eaten by dogs, and no one will bury her. Ahab trembled at these words and later died in battle as prophesied. But Jezebel remained defiant, ruling through her sons. She believed she was untouchable, but judgment was coming. Years later, a new king rose in Israel, Jehu, a fierce warrior chosen by God to bring Jezebel's reign to an end. With his army, Jehu stormed into Jezreel, where Jezebel still ruled. But Jezebel was no fool. She saw Jehu's coming and prepared herself. She painted her eyes, adorned her hair, and sat by the palace window, ready to face him, not with fear, but with pride. As Jehu rode in, she called out mockingly, "Have you come in peace, Jehu?" Jehu looked up at her and shouted to her own servants, "Who is on my side? Throw her down." In that moment, Jezebel's own palace guards betrayed her. They grabbed the queen and threw her from the window. she plummeted to the ground, her body shattered on the stones below. Blood splattered against the walls, and as Jehu rode over her with his chariot, the prophecy began to unfold. Jehu entered the palace, had a meal, and then gave an order: "Go and bury her." After all, she was a queen. But when the men went to collect her body, she was gone. All that remained were her skull, her hands, and her feet. The rest had been devoured by dogs, just as Elijah had prophesied years before. The queen who defied God had met her horrific end. Jezebel's story did not end with her death. Her name became synonymous with wickedness, manipulation, and defiance against God. Even in the New Testament, her spirit is warned against, a symbol of corruption that still lingers in the world today. So what can we learn from her fate? That no power, no throne, and no amount of earthly influence can stand against the judgment of God. Jezebel thought she was untouchable, but in the end, her name became a warning for all generations. The woman who defied God was swallowed by his judgment. What do you think about Jezebel's story? Does her spirit still exist today? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more shocking, mysterious, and powerful Bible stories, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and keep uncovering the hidden truths of the Bible.